Hitting the snooze button for the third time isn't a moral failing, it's a genetic mismatch. The physical drag you feel before 10 in the morning is your biology fighting a schedule it was never built for. You're about to understand why a third of the population is systematically penalized for their natural rhythm, and why blaming yourself is the most damaging mistake you can make. Your body runs on an internal clock, a master timekeeper in your brain that governs everything from hormone release to body temperature. This clock is set by your chronotype. For a long time, this was dismissed as a simple preference for mornings or evenings. The science tells a different story. Your chronotype is a deeply ingrained biological trait, largely determined by your genes, specifically a gene called PER3. A longer version of this gene tends to make you a night owl. A shorter version, a morning lark. It's as much a part of you as the color of your eyes. This internal clock determines your natural sleep-wake cycle. For a morning person, or a lark, their brain is primed for peak performance early in the day. Their body temperature rises before they even wake up, and cognitive function ramps up quickly. For a night owl, this entire process is delayed by several hours. Their brains are still in a sleep-like state long after the alarm has gone off. They are, in a very real sense, being asked to perform surgery moments after being shaken awake. About 40% of the population are morning larks or evening owls. The rest fall somewhere in the middle. So if this is a natural distribution across the human species, why does our entire society operate on a single time zone? The answer is a ghost of our agricultural past. For thousands of years, human life was governed by the sun. Daylight was the only resource for productive work. Rising with the sun was a practical necessity for survival. This practical need eventually calcified into a cultural virtue. The Industrial Revolution doubled down on this. Factories needed standardized shifts, and the early morning start, modeled on farm life, became the default. The 9-to-5 workday was born. A world built around a single, solar schedule. This schedule works wonderfully for morning larks. For night owls, it's a disaster. It creates a chronic condition known by sleep researchers as social jet lag. This is the gap between your body's preferred sleep schedule and the schedule your job, your school, and your life demand. Imagine flying from Los Angeles to New York every single Friday night, living on East Coast time for 2 days, then flying back Monday morning and trying to function immediately. That constant, wrenching shift is what night owls experience every week. Their bodies crave a midnight to 8 a.m. sleep schedule, but on weekdays, they're forced into a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Then on weekends, they crash and revert to their natural rhythm, creating a vicious cycle of sleep debt and circadian disruption. This isn't just about feeling tired. The physical consequences are severe. Each hour of social jet lag is associated with an 11% increase in the likelihood of heart disease. It's linked to a higher risk of metabolic syndrome, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. Your body, confused by the conflicting time signals, struggles to regulate its metabolism. You're eating at times when your digestive system is preparing to shut down, and fasting when it expects fuel. It's a state of permanent internal chaos. The cognitive effects are just as punishing. Memory, attention, and executive function all take a direct hit. You are running your brain on the wrong operating system, and the performance drop is brutally measurable. Studies of university students show that night owls consistently get lower grades than morning larks, even when they have the same study habits and intelligence levels. Why? Because most classes and exams are scheduled in the morning, precisely during the owl's window of peak cognitive impairment. They are taking their most important tests while their brains are still warming up. It's like asking a sprinter to run the 100-meter dash immediately after waking from a deep sleep. Their body simply isn't ready. Critics of this idea often fall back on a simple suggestion: just go to bed earlier. It seems logical, but it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of the biology. Your sleep-wake cycle is governed by the release of melatonin, the hormone of darkness. The timing of this release is controlled by your internal clock. For a night owl, the go-to-sleep signal from the brain might arrive at 11 p.m. or even midnight. Telling them to go to bed at 10 is like telling a morning person to take a nap at 3 in the afternoon. You can lie in the dark, you can close your eyes, but you cannot command your brain to release the chemical cascade that initiates sleep. You're just lying there, waiting for a train that isn't scheduled to arrive for another hour. The most dangerous consequences of this mismatch occur when night owls are forced into high-stakes early morning situations. The period after waking is known as sleep inertia. It's that groggy, confused state where your brain is slowly coming back online. For night owls, this period is significantly longer and more intense when they're forced to wake early. One study on medical residents found that errors in patient care were significantly more common during early morning shifts handled by doctors with a late chronotype. Their reaction times were slower. Their judgment was impaired. The world demands they be sharp at the very moment their biology makes them dull. This extends beyond hospitals. Early morning traffic accidents show a similar pattern, with a disproportionate number involving drivers who are fighting their internal clocks. For decades, the narrative has been one of personal responsibility. The night owl was seen as undisciplined, lazy, unproductive. The cultural messaging reinforces this. The early bird gets the worm. Successful chief executive officers wake up at 4 a.m. This moral judgment adds a layer of psychological burden on top of the biological one. You feel guilty for a state you have almost no control over. The entire system is designed to reward one genetic profile and punish another. It's a form of temporal discrimination, woven so deeply into the fabric of society that we barely even see it. But the world that created the 9-to-5 is vanishing. The internet, the rise of remote work, and the globalized 24-hour economy are shattering the old, rigid schedules. This is the first time in history where large numbers of people can decouple their work from a specific time and place. And in this new, flexible world, the night owl's supposed weakness is becoming a strength. Creativity and insight often flourish during off-peak hours. Some studies suggest a correlation between the night owl chronotype and traits like verbal intelligence and divergent thinking. The connection is complex. It may be that when the world is quiet and the analytical part of the brain is slightly less active, more associative and creative thoughts can emerge. For owls, this creative window opens late at night, long after the larks have gone to sleep. In a world that increasingly values innovation and creative problem solving, having a workforce that is active and alert at different times is a massive advantage. An asynchronous work environment allows people to align their tasks with their biological peaks. A night owl can tackle their most demanding analytical work in the late afternoon and their creative work late at night, delivering better results with less effort. A company with a mix of chronotypes can effectively operate around the clock, with natural handoffs between team members. This diversity of rhythm creates a more resilient, more productive, and more humane system. The very idea of a single universal workday is starting to look like an artifact from a bygone era, an antique. For those still trapped in a misaligned schedule, there are ways to cope. These are tactics to manage the mismatch. Morning light exposure is the most powerful tool. Getting 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight as soon as you wake up helps to reset your internal clock, signaling to your brain that the day has begun. This can, over time, help to shift your cycle slightly earlier. Another strategy is to delay your morning coffee. Your body naturally produces a spike of the stress hormone cortisol upon waking, which helps you feel alert. Drinking coffee immediately blunts this effect and builds tolerance. Waiting 90 minutes allows you to take advantage of your body's natural wake-up signal before adding caffeine. If you have flexibility in your job, structure your day around your chronotype. Block out the morning for simple administrative tasks that don't require deep thinking. Save your most important, cognitively demanding work for the afternoon or evening when your brain is actually at its peak. This is about working with your biology instead of fighting a losing battle against it. These are coping mechanisms for an environment that is hostile to your nature. They can help, but they are a patch on a systemic problem. The real shift happens when we change the narrative. The struggle of the night owl is a design problem, not a character flaw. A society that only builds ramps for people who can walk is an incomplete society. A world that only builds schedules for morning larks is an inefficient and unhealthy world. The goal is creating systems that accommodate the full spectrum of human biology. This is about recognizing that different people have different rhythms, and that this diversity is a source of strength. The 9-to-5 workday isn't a law of physics. It's an invention. It's a piece of cultural technology that has outlived its usefulness for a huge portion of the population. Your daily struggle with that alarm clock is the error message, a clear signal that the hardware is out of sync with the program it's being forced to run. The most productive future is one where we stop trying to fix the hardware and finally decide to upgrade the system.